Well, good evening. We're going to get started. I'm really excited to be here tonight. My name is Dr. Willie Miles. I am the president of Dr. Willie Miles Children's Foundation located here in Atlanta, Georgia. Yeah, I'm always so thankful for each of you all who join us each week, and I don't take you for granted. You could be watching any other thing on this night, and you could be laying up on the sofa watching television, but I wanted to make sure that I provide for the audience information that's going to help them and help their children. Before I get into tonight's program, I do want to share that we have many things that are happening here in Atlanta as far as the foundation is concerned. I want you all to also visit our website. It's important you visit our website to see all the new things that are happening with us. All the new things that are happening with us. We have a young rapper out of Sierra Leone who has agreed to donate some of his proceeds from his record sales to the foundation, and that's such a wonderful thing. His name is Grovius, and it's amazing that he's in Sierra Leone, and Sierra Leone is also, it's poor. Part of it is poor, and I'm just happy that he chose us, and he's been one of our listeners, one of our viewers, and said that he wants to do something for us in America. And I'll tell you this: we're gonna do something for them from America to Sierra Leone, Africa. I also want to share with you that we're very excited, people. I'm just really excited about getting started with the a social justice campaign. It's going to kick off in September. I'm very excited about that. I need y'all to keep your eyes and ears open. If you work with corporations who are really serious about this, tell them to consider funding us, sponsoring us. We need as many dollars as we can. I decided to go forth with, if I don't have nothing, I'm going for it anyway. I'll go for it with it as a public service. But of course, I'm trying to get you the best information and the best experts out there who can help us understand why it's important and why social justice is important and why it's important that we get this information out to our audience, So I'm very excited about that. I hope your week has been really blessed, and I also hope that you all are staying safe and healthy out there. This COVID thing is really taking its toll on Americans, and specifically African Americans, but throughout the country it is happening, and we never had these many deaths, so take this very seriously. Make sure you're wearing your mask and the gloves and whatever else you need. And I just suggest that you don't go out to all these parties and all these barbecues and family reunions. All that can wait. All that can wait. Let's get through all the rough times first. So I'm going to ask you all to really just take some time and try to make sure that you stay safe and make sure that your children stay safe. Make sure your children stay safe. Of course, this topic this week is about domestic violence. And last week we had a big conversation about it. And the big conversation was really about people not wanting to talk about it and people not acknowledging it and people not realizing that it's an issue in all communities. For those of you who know me, you know that I am a therapist also. And so therefore, I treat a lot of people who are victims of domestic violence. And our society has also has us believing, of course, that men are not victims of domestic violence. And ladies, there's no competition between men and women and domestic violence. The issue is that no one should be violated. No one should be physically assaulted. No one should be hurt. The numbers are mind-staggering. Of course, each year, over 2 million women are assaulted by men. And each year, over 800,000 men are assaulted by their wives or their girlfriends. 2 million women each year are assaulted, and about 800,000 men are assaulted. And I want to sort of highlight this thing of men being assaulted, even though the numbers are not as high as women, because people naturally think when they hear domestic violence, they normally think about a man who is beating a woman, beating his wife or his girlfriend, without even asking, well, can you be more specific? Is it who's the victim? Is it the wife or is it the boyfriend, the husband? But my real concern has been the effect that it has on children. And why do people become domestic violence victims? Why do women become victims? And we discussed this last weekend. And why do men become victims? And how do you become victims? Well, I think the answer is kind of simple. When you find yourself in a situation of being controlled and feeling that you need a person and that you're trying to change a person, those are some of those vulnerabilities that allows domestic violence to occur for both men and women. When you start feeling that you're jealous and you're starting asking all kind of questions and you start threatening, and even when you start threatening your spouse's or your partner's clothing or the pets or other items in the house, the whole mindset of a person who does or commits domestic violence is control. And I gave you two sets of people that could be victims, but children can also be victims. No one ever asks, is it the child who's the victim or is it the child who's the perpetrator? So in all cases, we find ourselves having many perpetrators. We can have the wife, a girl, who's a perpetrator. We can have the husband or the boyfriend who's a perpetrator. And we can also have the child or the children who are perpetrators. Yes, we have children who beat up on parents. We have cases where male children have beat their moms up. Mom had to call police. Those are domestic violence cases. And the question is, what causes all this energy? Like what causes someone to get so intense when they want to violate another person? And as Ms. McQueen said, it is really manipulation. It is control. It is wanting to make sure that you are controlling that person totally and that you don't want them to see their families. You want to keep them hidden. You want to do all these things. One of our viewers said that this faithful father says that this conversation goes along with good touch, bad touch. Good touch, bad touch. And that gets into, of course, child abuse. It gets into physical abuse. And so our goal is to make sure that we get the information and we know how to deal with the information. I do want to share with you all that I'm not going to have a guest tonight, but I am going to say that if there are some clinicians or folk who are experienced in this, I'd be more than happy to put you in the box for you to talk with us tonight also. But I do want to share that any of these cases that go untreated, you're in for a long journey. For a matter of fact, I was talking to a young lady today who began to tell me about her being molested when she was young. I don't want to go through molestation. That's my next week's topic. But my point is, who had gone through some form of violence and it went on for years, and she found herself in a situation where she is having problems right now and found out that other things were happening with other family members. Domestic violence is not contagious, but if we understand that all behaviors are learned. So when you start seeing that, one or two things has happened. One, the person has seen it happen to their mom when they were young or throughout their life. Two, the person has been a victim for a long time. And the key is how do you know if someone is a victim? How do you know if someone has been subject to domestic violence? Descendant Marquis says, it also goes along with anger and rage, unchecked and untreated. You're absolutely right. It goes along with anger and rage that is unchecked. And unchecked means untreated. And in Black communities, and a lot of communities, not just Black, but primarily in the Black community, we think that getting therapy is taboo. And we think that if you get therapy, you must be crazy. But I share with people, if that therapy makes you, concerns you, then call me a life coach, call me a counselor, call me a friend. I don't care what you call me, but get some help. You can tell those who are perpetrators. The perpetrators are very controlling and they want to isolate their victims. They want to make sure that they cut off all connection with all family members. That's the first thing. Cut off all connection with all family members. They want you to feel that you are totally dependent upon them for life, and that without them, that you are nothing. It's not just domestic violence from the point of view where we're hitting someone. I'm talking about someone who comes home every day and curses you out and tells you you ain't nothing, you ain't no good, and they use other vulgarities. People, that's the person who is trying to control you, and I think who is dangerous. I just believe that when people hit someone, they're out of control. And if you hit me once, you'll hit me again. If you hit me once, you'll hit me again. And I'm not going to allow me to be a punching bag for you. Now, I'm speaking as a man. I'm speaking that the same message should come from men. We don't identify this behavior as a mental illness, as Descendant Marquis said. We don't. But it is a mental illness that has to be treated. And you may say, well, where does this mental illness come from? For those of you who have watched my the live streams I did, Child Development 101 for 4 weeks, you know where it comes from. I shared with you all that these behaviors are learned very early on in life. Very early on in life. The child's personality is set by age 3. So the child is witnessing a father coming home cussing mom out all the time, or vice versa. And the child is witnessing hitting, and the child who is 3 saying, why are you bleeding? Daddy shouldn't have hit you. People, guess what? That's not cute. That ain't him being smart. That ain't him caring for you. That is trauma. And trauma going untreated leads to dysfunction. Somehow we believe that when things happen to us at an early age, they kind of disappear as we get older. That's not how it works, folk. They don't disappear. They really manifest. The older you get, the more they manifest. In communities, there's just so much hidden stuff like, there's hidden domestic violence. I don't want anybody to know he's beating me. Or I don't want anyone to know that she's beating me. And or I don't want anyone to know that he's beating me. And or I don't want anybody to know that my child is beating me. We have a lot of cases where children, and I'm not talking about 5-year-olds, I'm talking about these teens who are fighting their parents, and they're arguing, and they're saying what they're not going to do in their parents' house. In their parents' house. That means that the parent has lost control over their home, and the child has gotten control, or the perpetrator has gotten control. And the key is that in a home, it should not be a control issue. It is a discipline thing. It is an organized thing. These are certain values we stand for in our home, and these are certain values that will occur. Now, if you don't like these values, maybe you should consider going to a place that has other values. But in this house, we don't hit people. And in this house, nobody screams at anyone. And at this house, no one violates anyone. We have to draw the line in the sand when it comes to our children. First of all, we're loving our children too much. And we're loving them in a way that is enabling them and it's hurting them. Particularly our boys. Jawazakan Jufu stated, we raise our daughters and we love our sons. But we're talking about the domestic violence, where one person physically assaults another person, or a person verbally assaults another person, or a person keeps an individual in captive. Faithful Father says that they lost control of the home a few generations ago when they failed to deal with the problem. Well, yeah, you're partially right there. They not only left lost control of the home, they lost control of the home when we stopped telling our children what it took for us to get over. And we started trying to create a better life, better than what we had, but look how we turned out. We lost this thing when we talked about allowing children to say anything to us. There is a difference in saying anything to us and communicating with us. We're teaching our children. And now this is when you have the child who is the perpetrator of domestic violence. The child who beats the mom up. The mom runs in the room and locks the door. And he's screaming, I'll kill you. Well, that child needs some help. And not only help, if he's physically assaulting me, he needs to be arrested or placed into a facility that's going to help him. because he should not be hitting his mother. And his mother should not have to be hiding in a closet as she prepares meals to feed him and clothe him and shelter him. That should not be happening. And no parent should ever give total control of their home to their children. Otherwise, you're staying with your 16-year-old, and your 16-year-old is controlling your house. And that should not be occurring. But your house is not my house, so I can't tell you what to do. The question also is, how is it that men are victims? And I hear there a lot. And so Dr. Miles, how he should fight her back. Well, you all know what happens if he hits her and she bruises. What law enforcement agency is going to believe that a man, first of all, is a victim? And we have to prove it more. We have to prove it more that, guess what? She assaulted me. She assaulted me first. She hit me first. She's the one who threw this lamp at me. So I defended myself. I'm not sharing how to win a domestic violence case. I'm simply saying that there are men. There are men, and they're not men who just are soft men. They're not men who are weak men. And it has nothing to do with masculinity. It's about a man or a person who has allowed someone to control them. And that is really the root of all of this, that I have control. Now, the other thing we talked about last week, and when we had our guest on with Tequila, we talked about, how this person feels who is the victim. And oftentimes the victim feels that they're responsible for the person's behavior. I'll share with you that domestic violence perpetrators never take accountability for their action. They never take accountability for their action. One of their favorite words or phrases are, "I did not want to do this, but you made me do it." So I made you break my arm. And some victims buy into it and say, "You're right, maybe I should have said anything." And the victim very rarely tells anyone. So the victim goes on for years living in torment. Can you imagine how it's torment to live with a person who is violating you and fighting you and beating you, and there's nothing you can do to please them? It's like putting you into a cage with a lion and expecting there to be peace. Expecting there to be peace. It is not your responsibility to bring peace, because that person is out of control. And when a person is consistently out of control, they need treatment. They need treatment. And some of the alternatives are, you get treatment, or it's over. Because, my friends and followers, if they do it once, they're going to do it again. If you get hit once, you're going to get hit again. And I want to make sure we're talking about this thing from a gender neutral. We're talking about men and women. 800,000 men are seriously beat by their wives or girlfriends. Seriously beat by their wives. 800,000 men. And 2 million women are seriously beat by their husbands or boyfriends yearly. Miss Queen said, "This is a good subject. I never thought of abuse as a mental illness, but I can see it now. Most certainly, it is a mental imbalance. It is a situation whereas I want you to know that I control you. And anyone who controls you, who thinks they control you, or wants to control you, that is a mental illness. And the reason they want to feel they can control you, because they don't control anyone else, and even themselves. And even themselves. They have no control over themselves. A person who does not have control over themselves is a dangerous person. What amazes me, though, well, not really amazes me as a therapist, because I do understand most of this stuff, and that is, you knew he was a perpetrator and a beater when you married him. Or you knew that she was a perpetrator, beater, when you married her. Because you were fighting when you were dating. What makes you think that once you get married, the fighting stops? Well, you think you got a marriage license. What you really got was a license to get beat. And then you walk around as if nothing is happening. You walk around as if nothing is happening. One viewer said that you clearly don't remove yourself and start clearly this won't be acceptable. You have to remove yourself from that. And you have to believe that you ain't going to actually die without the person. You may die with the person. You're not going to die without them. Your life will go on. And you'll start looking back and saying, how did I and why did I go through this? How many of you all have been in a situation where, not maybe you, of course you know somebody who's been through it, that says, I can't do anything to please him or her. Everything I do, they argue at me. No matter what I do, it's not right. And they're always threatening to leave me. Well, that's a sign right there. That's a sign right there. Control. You need to listen to what people say. You need to listen to what people say and not only how they say it, but what they say. Like, what does they say? And they may say, well, I'm joking about it. I want to make it clear to our viewers, I'm not saying in every case that there are signs before marriage, but there are many cases that we have documented that their abuse occurred before they got married. And because of her desire to be married, or his desire to be married, they said, we'll change. And the reason I'm this way is because I want to be with you. Oh, that's so sweet. And there goes the marriage license, the license to hell. There are ways out. There are ways out if you're bold enough, if you're strong enough to draw a line in the sand and not go back. If you're strong enough to draw a line in the sand and not go back and simply say, I'm not going to be a punching bag and I'm not going to tolerate you beating me. And sometimes you have to leave the person without notice and they know not where you're going. They don't know where you're going. Because they know where you're going, they're going to come and get you. So, there's a big picture to this domestic violence piece. First of all, why is the perpetrator, how they have so much control over the person who's the victim? Why does the victim allow the person to have control over them? And why don't they both just leave? Some of us will say, oh, guess what? Oh, they like fighting each other. They just in love. Well, I don't know whether you fight or hurt something you love. And you can't know the definition of love if you want to fight me. Love does not mean hurting me. If it does, I don't want no parts of love. If it does, I want no part of it. 2 million women suffer this. All ages. Ladies and gentlemen, we shake our heads at adults, but some of your kids or some kids are victims of domestic violence from their boyfriends at school. It's not just happening in the homes. There are boys that are beating girls up right now. And there are girls that are beating boys up. The girl comes home, doesn't tell it. It's really assault. People who have not been loved have a skewed definition of it and will accept it from anyone in any form they give it to them in. If you don't know the definition of love, you've never seen it, it comes to you in a picture as fights. If you've never witnessed love and you don't know what it is, it comes into a picture that says, he only loves me. He's just frustrated because something I'm not doing. Remember this, the perpetrator never takes responsibility for the action. They always blame the victim. It was something that you did that provoked me into doing this. Otherwise, I would not have done this. You know me. If you love me, you wouldn't do it. And the question you're asking is, what did I do? If you can still talk. What did I do? You're trying to figure out, I just opened the door for you and you assaulted me. I just opened the door for you and you started punching me. Oh, you're right. I know you had a key, so why did I open the door? I was trying, you think I was trying to check on you, and then he hits you again. The next day, you don't go to work. So now it's affecting the economics of your house. Miss Sonia says, my mom was a great example of a strong black woman. I'm so grateful that because of her bringing me up the way she did, I was able to get out of a situation that could have escalated. Miss Sonia, those are great words. You recognize toxicity. Anytime a relationship is toxic, toxic means it'll kill you. You get out of it. In one of the books I wrote, I tell boys, I said, if a girl tells you that she can't live without you, I said, run as fast as you can. And I'm telling you all, if anyone tells you that they can't live without you, people, that's control. And that's dangerous. I can't live without you. So it means that if I can't live without you, that means that I don't want you to live without me. Run as fast as you can. Each year, 2 million women are victims of domestic violence. 800,000 men are victims of serious physical abuse. Now, with the men, the serious physical abuse oftentimes includes objects and weapons. Usually the woman finds anything she can get to hit him with, because at that point she's trying to kill him. Because she also believes that no one will ever believe that a woman would assault a man, because men are all macho, right? We're so strong and that we're bigger than they are. If a woman tells me that she'll kill me, I'm out. I'm going to believe her. I'm going to believe her. When people tell you who they really are, stop saying, no, you're not. You better believe them. When people tell you who they really are. Now, this is not original, of course, but when they tell you who they really are, Maya Angelou, I think, said, you better believe it, folk. And what's amazing, guess what? People who are perpetrators give you a warning every time. They'll say, keep messing with me. Keep messing with me. And there you are saying, what am I doing? How women attack men. Sometimes the woman waits until the male goes to sleep or gets him in a vulnerable state, because he's never thinking that his wife would attack him with an object. So he's caught off guard. And can you imagine him saying, I ain't telling nobody my wife, my girlfriend beat me up. They'll say I'm a punk. So that 800,000 number you got is not including those unreported cases. And those the 2 million women number is not including those unreported. Well, those are just reported cases. Those are just reported cases. So what does it look like? Well, can someone be with you and then turn into a perpetrator? Well, I don't say they turn into one. I say they were always one. That's why it's important to interview people before you agree, like in this long-term relationship, and just check with for family members. For instance, you're dating somebody for 6 months and they don't even want you to meet their family. They tell you, I'm ashamed of my family because my family are hood people and I'm just ashamed of them. Folk, People who are perpetrators do not want you to meet their families because their families will tell you the truth. So how are you going to marry somebody you never met their family? How do you marry someone when you've only had one part of the story, and that is his story? You've heard just only one perspective of this person, and they appear to be wonderful. Absolutely a wonderful man, absolutely a wonderful woman. But you've only heard one perspective, and that has been his. In human relations, as we get to know people, we ought to want to hear all perspectives. I want to hear from sisters and brothers, like, what do y'all think about him? What do you think about her? Usually perpetrators want to isolate you, and usually they're also isolated. They want you to think that you're the only person in their lives. And the key to this, what we're talking about, is that untreated people, untreated, it does not go away. Untreated. I was talking to someone today about abuse, basically. And just since I can't stay away from it, our next week's topic, since I can't stay away from it, it's going to be dealing with molestation. Our next week's topic is going to deal with molestation. Men who are molested while they're children and girls who are molested while they're children. What happens to them? So tell everybody you know that you're getting some free information next week on molestations. Well, you've gotten free information every week. I need to start charging y'all for this. These are therapy sessions. What's my PayPal account number? Well, just kidding. No, the point is that I want you to understand what happens to folk, because in our community, guess what? This stuff goes on all the time, and particularly in the South. Domestic violence, where there's male control, there's male dominance. And also, there are cases where there's female dominance. And there are cases when the children become perpetrators of domestic violence, and when children are also victims. And when children are victims of domestic violence, of course, we call it child abuse. We call it child abuse. Right? So here we are. Do any of y'all have any questions right now? Is there anyone who wants to be in the box with me to share some views or comments? If you want to be in the box with me, just hit join live and I'll accept you and you can share some of your thoughts. While you're deciding, we're going to keep talking because our time goes out so fast when we're talking about this. And tonight, with all the conversations, I'm very serious about this. I'm very concerned about the 2 million women. It doesn't matter race. There are 2 million women who are victims. And there are 2 million women that are reported cases. How many cases are unreported? And many of these victims end up dead. Miss Sonia, I'm so glad you got out of it. You run, and there's no turning back. There's no forgiving me. There's no, I made a mistake. I'm going to share. If it happens once, it will happen again. And how does it affect our children? How does it affect children? When children see domestic violence occurs, it affects them greatly. Without treatment, they grow up with many diagnoses. And many of those folk, I'm talking about diagnoses that are not diagnosed. And they grow up not knowing how to treat people. And they grow up in isolation. A case right now of a 38-year-old male who things happen to him. He's isolated, don't want to talk to anybody, can't have any relationships, just by himself. And refuses treatment. Refuses treatment. We talk about this thing of village, but unfortunately, we don't even know who's in the village. Not only that, but we don't know what we can do about that. What role do we play in trying to stop this stuff? Well, I think one of the roles we can play is acknowledging that it exists. Acknowledging that these things exist. And stop making excuses for it. Oh, he just being a man. You'll get over it. He just being a man. No, she just mad. She ain't mean to hurt you like that. She ain't mean to cut you for real. She just mad at you. Well, she needs to learn how to get angry with me without cutting me. She needs to learn how to get angry with me without violating me. She's going to angry with me, learn how to get angry with me without hitting me. We were not made to be hit. We were not made to be misused and abused. We were not created to be talked to any kind of way. We were not made to be somebody's punching bag. We were not created to be controlled by someone as if you own me. It is important that you understand your value, your worth. And the worth is, you're not going to be hitting on me. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to control me either. That's not going to happen. And you're not going to violate me. That is not going to happen. Now, you don't have to say all that to the perpetrator because that may even escalate it. Tell your mind, tell yourself that. You got to learn to control your mind. Tell yourself, self, I will not be mistreated this way. I would not be violated this way. I would not cause a life of trauma for my children. Are y'all hearing me? A life of trauma. Child scared to go to sleep, scared somebody gonna come in and kill his mama. Child walked to school looking over his shoulder, thinking somebody coming to kill him. All these psychosis. And child in the bedroom at night thinking he's seeing people coming in the room to kill him. This is what I deal with, people. And when parents bring that to me in therapy and say, like, he sees people in his room at night, there's somebody there, I ask, what kind of things have happened in your family? Has your child witnessed domestic violence? Has your child witnessed maltreatment? Has anybody hurt him? Has the child heard any threats toward you? Or has the child heard any threats toward himself? Ms. McQueen, you're absolutely right. You got to know your worth. You got to know your worth. And people, this is very simple. You know, this is not rocket scientist stuff. You know, somebody talked about, well, oh, guess what? You know, it's what love is about. Not taking responsibility. Oh, men and women gonna have some problems. Not taking responsibility. Oh, it's just a marriage thing. Marriages go through stuff. Oh, and I love this one, right? I love this one. Well, when I married him, I said that I'd be with him to the end of time. I said through richness and poorness, sickness and in health, he just sick. Well, he'd be sick by himself. And that's not something that God honors. You know, it's amazing how we use religion to substantiate our foolishness. Well, yeah, when I took the vows was for life. It wasn't for my life. Not for him to kill me, or for her to kill me. Yeah, we got married. I was serious. When I said I'm going to love you to death do us part, I don't care what he does. I'm going to make this marriage work. But is the marriage really working? Or are you getting your butt beat every day? Is that working? For the man, well, I ain't gonna hit her back because a man ain't supposed to hit a woman. No, she can hit me because I'm strong. I can deal with it. I can deal with it. She can hit me. She can cut me too. Guess what? I'm a man. I can deal with it. The person has some serious issues. In the LGBTQA community also, domestic violence occurs between partners of the same sex. Those cases, oftentimes people are not even reported. Because first of all, they don't want to bring the police into their gay lives and know that they're lovers. And some of these men who are victims of domestic violence have wives at home. He goes and tells his wife that somebody robbed him. I was trying to rob him. That's why he's beat up. Not telling her that my gay lover beat me. Are y'all with me? That these are the cases that are unreported. They're unreported. I should have gotten the data on how many of these cases end up in death. Well, let's talk about what is death. Let's identify what is death to us. Are we talking about physically dead? Or emotionally dead? Socially dead? It includes all of that, because dead is dead. If my spirit has been killed, I'm dead. If my soul has been killed, I'm dead. I'm a dead man walking around. You're a dead woman walking around because you're beaten every day and you're terrified to go home and your children are terrified. And you don't know what you're doing to cause this. The question is not what are you doing to cause this? The answer is you have an individual who's very sick and will not be satisfied until he kills you. I hope you all share what I'm talking about. It's a very serious case. Think about this right now. We're in a COVID situation, right? We're told to not go anywhere, basically. We're in our homes on shutdown. But I'm on shutdown with my abuser. Think about that. Okay, he's not working now, so he's frustrated. Money, the rent due, so everybody's frustrated. The rent due, the light bill due, the water bill due, and guess what? The food stamps ain't came in. And so everybody's on edge. And you're trapped in a house with a person who beat you when things were going well. Now you're trapped like a rat with a snake. You've got to get out. You've got to get out. By any means necessary, get out. By any means necessary, get out of those relationships. And recommend him therapy once you're safe. Don't try to negotiate with an abuser, because all you're going to do is get hit more. How can you negotiate with somebody who brings nothing to the table but violence? What are you trying to do? I'm going to negotiate with him. I'm going to talk to him. How do you negotiate with someone who has nothing to lose? Women, you're not created for that. That is not what you're created for. Men, that is not what you're created for. And then you've scarred my children for the rest of their lives. And you leave him and think everything's all right with the child. You haven't gotten any treatment, nor has the child gotten any treatment, messing the child's life up for generations. Folk, when things happen to you that ain't normal, seek help. I ain't talking about police help. I'm talking about mental health. You got to talk that stuff out of yourself, folk. You got to talk yourself out of what has happened to you to let you know that you were not the problem. Faithful Father says, negotiating with someone who is sick, depressed, and angry. And who's going to win, you think? Well, you got a problem if you even try to negotiate with them. How are you going to negotiate with somebody who has you under control? How do you negotiate with someone who, in the enragement or the outrage he's in, all he sees is fire in his eyes, and all he wants to do is destroy. How do you negotiate? How do you negotiate with someone the female who only wants to kill you because she's jealous of you? And she accuses you of sleeping with all women, and you're never at home, and you ain't doing nothing. But her goal is to show you that she'll kill you. How do you negotiate? You need to negotiate. That's what you need to do. You need to go and eat. You got to know your worth. I hope I'm helping you, and I hope that I'm giving you something that's really going to permeate your minds and have you start thinking about stuff. We have daughters that we know they have boyfriends who beat them. We have other neighbors and sisters and brothers that we know are in very bad situations. And we ain't trying to get in their business. We're just saying it ain't going to stop. It's not going to stop. Domestic violence happens with your partners. Children can also be charged with domestic violence. Now y'all say, but guess what? I can't imagine a child beating up his parent. You're absolutely right, because she definitely ain't gonna tell nobody. She ain't gonna tell nobody, because she's not gonna want anybody to know that a child that she bore is now beating her. Folk, we've got to become more empowered. The word comes up again, what is our worth? And what is our worth to ourselves? People who beat, I don't have any tolerance for it. But I do know they're sick. And usually the people who are the perpetrators don't even know that they're sick. You know why? Because they saw their mom being beat, and mom left him but never got him treatment. Never got him treatment. She never got treatment. She said, we ain't getting no treatment. The Lord got us out of this one. Why do you think the Lord made therapists? Why did the Lord make therapists? He said that I'm going to do stuff for you, but I'm going to use man to do it for me. All I'm saying is don't be afraid. Women, if there's a woman who's listening to me right now who's going through this domestic violence, I'm going to help you. You are better than that. That is not what you were created for. You don't deserve it. You were not born for this. You are a queen. He's sick. Don't hate him. Forgive him after you've gotten out. But if you don't do anything else, get out. And I'm not talking about getting out tonight. I'm saying you got to plan your leave. You can't, he's in an outrage and you say, I'm leaving. That's kind of like crazy. Why are you going to tell an outraged person you're leaving? No, let him think he's won. And you start packing your little bags, getting pieces out of the house at a time, making preparation. Then one day he comes home and you ain't there and you're safe. Stop announcing everything you're doing. For men who are in domestic violence situations, stop taking that stuff. You were not created to be beaten. You were not created to be disrespected. You were not created to be tormented. Now, y'all know I'm in ministry, so I got to say this right here. Calvary settled all of that. You ain't got to be beaten like that. You ain't got to be hung on the cross like that. You ain't got to go through any of that stuff. Because it's already been done for you. Get empowered. Get empowered. Get out. Get empowered and get out. Get empowered and get out. Well, if he gets himself together, I'll be back. You sound like a foolish woman. No returning. Let him find someone else who can love him like he wants to be loved. Or let her find someone else who can love her like she wants to be loved. This is interesting, like the jealousy. Always accusing you of something. Always, oh, I know where you've been. I smell like cologne. I'm telling you, I'm getting sick of this stuff. Now, if you want her, you just gonna get her, cause you gonna make me kill you. Well, man, I'm telling you something. If she said that, boy, I'd be out of there. She said she gonna kill me on a suspicion. Control. Because she also heard other people telling her those kinds of things, and heard other people telling her mom those kinds of things. I do want to share with you that I'm really concerned about this domestic violence for men and for women. Our time is running out. I want to thank y'all for being faithful viewers and followers, and I really hope that I'm really helping you all. I hope I'm really helping, but I feel that there's a woman watching us tonight who wants to get out and is scared. She thinks she can't make it. Trust me, you'll be just fine. You'll be just fine. Because the creator we serve cannot exist in chaos. And you can't be fearful and faithful at the same time. So either you're fearful or you're faithful. My time is running out. Folks, listen, tell everybody next week. Tell all your friends. I want to see hundreds of people on here next week. We're dealing with molestation, and we're going to get that stuff out of the closet. All right? My time is running out. It's going to cut me off. Love y'all. See you next week. Take care.